Welcome to Road to Recovery.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Road to Recovery with Sagi Shaked. I'm Matt Sky. Sagi is founder of Shaked Law Personal Injury Lawyers and is ranked as one of the top 100 trial lawyers in the United States by the American Trial Lawyers Association. With a wealth of experience in personal injury, wrongful death, and complex litigation cases, he passionately advocates for victims and has recovered multi-million-dollar settlements in damages for his clients. Sagi, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What has been your experience in representing victims in civil sexual assault cases in Florida?
So we represent a lot of victims of sexual assault, and very difficult to do because you hear horror stories. So it's sexual assault and trafficking cases. Yes, that is real. It does happen in the United States, and it does happen in Florida. So the sexual assault cases we handle, a lot of times they're against hospitals or against nursing homes or other types of institutions. Sometimes they're against institutions that have children. And it seems like the ones that happen the most are where you have vulnerable children. Children who don't come from your traditional nuclear family. They come from broken homes, and you have the predators out there who are taking advantage of these youngsters, children, or people with special needs. That's where it seems like a lot of the assaults are happening. And of course, there's always, unfortunately, you have cases of sexual assaults with rapes that no one wants anyone to go through, but they do happen. So generally we see it in institutions, sometimes in apartment complexes, and other places where children are, and especially the vulnerable children.
So under this umbrella, what exactly constitutes a personal injury sexual assault case, and how does it differ from the other personal injury cases you handle?
So what's different about sexual assault versus regular personal injury cases? A regular personal injury case, you have someone who has orthopedic injuries or maybe a brain injury. They're going to medical doctors. They're getting potentially a surgery or therapy for their injuries. In a sexual assault, it's a lot different. It's a lot of emotional injuries, trauma to the head from an emotional standpoint, from a post-traumatic stress disorder. So you don't really have a surgical case or someone who's going in for medical treatment from that perspective. They do go to care and treatment, but not from a orthopedic standpoint or a neurology standpoint. Someone's been through a traumatic situation such as a sexual assault. A lot of times they don't want to talk about it. And that's a problem, because talking about it helps them grieve. And you have that happen. I mean, we have a case right now against Royal Caribbean where it's not a sexual assault case. It's like a sexual assault case. Two young girls who were 13 and 12 years old were videotaped by a Royal Caribbean employee, and he's getting sentenced hopefully next week. They caught him, and he thought it was okay to videotape them while they're in the bathroom naked, and while they're in their room changing clothes. These are minors. So again, you have the predators who are going to take advantage of people. But so the injuries are different. Again, you think of a personal injury, you think of someone injuring their bones or their neck. In a sexual assault case, it's usually dealing with PTSD, depression, anxiety, and the actual incident and the memories that it brings back. And so you have to be really delicate with the clients as you're representing them, because you don't want to spark or bring back any of the prior recollections that they have.
So what is the legal process involved in pursuing a personal injury claim as it pertains to sexual assault?
So in sexual assault cases, the process is like a personal injury case, and it's, I guess, a subset of a personal injury case. The process is this. Usually, clients call us. Sometimes it's a year after their incident. Sometimes it's many years after the incident, depending when it happened. So they'll call us, and then we'll begin our investigation. We have private investigators that work for us, and we work with the police. So if the police were called on a sexual assault case, whether it's a rape case or a date rape case, or a sexual assault at an institution or a religious institution, we hire investigators and they start working on getting statements from witnesses, work with the police so we can put our story together and then go after the institution, again, whether it's a private institution or a religious institution, and go after them and get justice for the victims of the assaults.
What are some of the biggest challenges you encounter in these types of sexual assault cases? And
So the biggest challenges that we see when handling sexual assault cases is a lot of times the survivors don't come forward until after the statute of limitations happens. So you have a statute of limitations that's different for different types of assaults, meaning when the assault happens in the person's life. Is it before the age of majority, or is it after? Because if it's after, you're going to fall under Florida's new statute that just recently passed on March 24th, 2023. So you'll be under a 2-year statute. But if you're before March 24th, 2023, you'll be under a 4-year statute from the date of the incident. Now, if you're under 16 years of age, the statute is different. So what I would do is, if the assault happened before you reach the age of 16, I would contact a lawyer who handles sexual assault cases to find out, can I still bring the claim? I'm a survivor, and can I still bring the claim? So there's different limitations, and every state is different. So we know New York, not too long ago, opened up the ability to sue for victims for going back 30 years. It really depends, and the law changes every year. So you really want to get someone who's up to date and understands what the time limitations and the statute of limitations are for these types of cases. Because when the incident occurred, the assault occurred, is going to be the driving factor of, how long do you have to bring the claim. So it really depends on what age the assault occur and what age the survivor come forward to talk about it. Again, it could be a trafficking case against, there's been trafficking cases against certain motels and hotels. We won't say the names here, but some of them allow for certain types of activity to happen on their premises, and the youth, or sometimes a little bit of people who are, they're addicted to drugs or a narcotic, are taken advantage of, or they're taken to these locations and then trafficked from those locations. And the hotels or motels can't turn a blind eye. Now, again, it will really depend on when the incident occurred and how old was the person. So, and also what state you're in. So what I would do, your best bet is to contact a lawyer that knows what they're doing. Feel free to reach us if you have any questions regarding, do you have a case or do you not have a case, if you're a survivor or a family member of a survivor.
What's the range of compensation and damages victims and people who come to you seek?
So a victim of a sexual assault or a trafficking incident can seek really all types of personal injury damages, from pain to suffering, mental pain, mental suffering, emotional damage, for depression, for anxiety, in the past and in the future. So it'll really depend on what are the injuries, and then, how do we compensate for those injuries? And we like to give the jury, depending on the case, usually a formula of how to do that. But it'll really depend on the case. Every case is unique. Every survivor has their own story. And so that's why I say every case is unique, and not every case fits into a cookie cutter formula on how to come up to the damages award or compensation. So really, it's emotional trauma. What you see is post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, um, all types of mental anguish, mental pain, mental suffering, dealing with it, isolation. A lot of people are isolated after a traumatic incident. They don't want to be around people. They're very guarded. But these are the types of things that a lawyer who's handled these types of cases can look into and then get full compensation to the individual survivor who's been violated.
What are the long term effects of personal injury, sexual assault cases on a victim's physical, emotional, and psychological well being?
So the long-term effects of these sexual assault cases, for the long, well, one, once you put it in suit, the litigation, one of the effects is the defense wants to take their deposition. One of the effects is the defense wants to take their deposition. And so what does that do? That the client has to relive and really survive all over again the trauma of the incident, which again is why a lot of people don't want to bring these cases because they don't want to go through it again. They've been through a lot of times through the criminal justice system where the perpetrator has been arrested and going through the um, criminal justice system and being prosecuted, and the victim sometimes has to testify. And now you have a civil lawsuit where we're bringing a case for money damages on behalf of the survivor. And again, they've got to be put through the grind of a deposition. A deposition is where an attorney will ask questions of the survivor. And those questions are going to pry into what happened. And it's hard for people to talk about it, to relive those moments again. It's traumatizing again for the survivor. Sometimes the anxiety of doing a deposition is hard for them. So a lot of times when we're preparing with clients for a deposition, we'll do multiple preparations, sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 preparations, just because it's hard for them to sit for more than an hour or two at a time to prepare because it's so damaging to them from a depression standpoint and anxiety standpoint. And so the defense lawyers have an advantage. But where they don't have an advantage is when we go to trial, because no one that sits on a jury is okay with anyone getting or sexually assaulted or being human trafficked. So there's an advantage, but there's also a challenge. And one of the challenges is for the survivors to go through the litigation process and have to reprove up their claim. That's, I think, one of the hardest challenges that we have as lawyers because we see what the survivors go through and how hard it is for them to move forward with the case.
How important is advocacy in ensuring that victims' rights are upheld during the course of their case?
The advocacy of these cases, meaning bringing these cases, is extremely important. We had a hospital case years ago where our client, similar to the one I spoke about earlier, was assaulted at a hospital, and they were assaulted by a male tech, and we were able to push forward as part of the settlement. We were able to push forward as part of the settlement that the hospital put a policy together where there is no male alone with a female patient. There has to be another female in the room when you have a male on male or male on female to protect the patient. You don't want to have, I'm not saying all people at the hospitals are bad or at institutions are bad. In fact, I would say the opposite. 99% of people are good. But there are bad apples, just like in every industry, there's a bad apple. And in that case, there was a bad apple like the one I just told you about earlier. And that bad apple, part of the settlement, which thankfully our client was helpful in pushing because this is something that she wanted too, was ensuring that not only do they pay compensation money, but that they implement that policy across all their hospitals nationwide. So you don't have another person who gets sexually assaulted when they're in a compromised position in a hospital or whatever setting. So the settings, hopefully, there's that buddy system in other hospitals, but not all hospitals, I can tell you, have them, because, like I said, we have a case going on right now where that's not the case. And they didn't learn their lesson from the other hospital. But hopefully they will, and hopefully they will change the way they conduct business and protect people, because it could be someone's mother or daughter or sister or brother that's being assaulted, because again, you're in the hospital, you're in that compromised position, and there they are. You have a sexual deviant or a predator taking advantage of someone, and it's not right. So those are some of the things that bringing these cases can do. It can make a change. So if you're out there and you're a survivor, think about the other survivors out there, or the other people that we can stop from this happening to them by telling your story, by going out there and ensuring these bad actors are not only put away. So it's not sometimes just the bad actor, it's the systems who are allowing bad actors to work in these positions, who are not doing their due diligence when they're hiring these people, or looking into their backgrounds to ensure that this doesn't happen. Or even simpler, well, why not implement the 2-buddy rule? So those things can change, and it's important that survivors tell their stories so other people don't get impacted.
How does seeking justice through a personal injury claim contribute to a victim's healing and recovery process?
So a lot of times the victims, they bring these cases because it closes the door for them, knowing that the institution isn't getting away with it, or the hospital or institution or religious institution or whatever it is, a daycare, a massage place, they're not walking away scot-free. As this person's life has been impacted, there is a way that it can change. And a lot of times, the only way to change is to impact people's money, because money makes people change. And that can create a change, like I said, with the other case we had, where now that hospital system has the 2-adult rule, where they have 2 adults in the room with a patient to protect the patient. So these suits can bring about change, and this change can help the survivor. Part of their closure is, yes, we closed the chapter, and that hospital system or that institution or that massage place or that religious institution, they can't do it again. And not only they can't do it again, they've prevented others who are in that position from doing something like that, so it doesn't happen again. And that helps the survivors, knowing that they've made a change, so other people won't go through what they went through, and that helps their recovery.
It's an important point to wrap up on. Everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to Road to Recovery with Sagi Shaked. For more information or to connect with Sagi, visit shakedlaw.com. Sagi, thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.